Lucent Prime was a world designed to blind you. It was a planet of endless salt flats, crystalline mountains, and 3 relentless suns that never allowed a true shadow to fall. The air was so clear, so pure that you could see for 50 miles, yet see nothing at all. This was the home of the Glimmer. The Glimmer were not just masters of camouflage, they were biological miracles of refraction. Their skin was composed of billions of microscopic liquid crystal scales that could bend light with 99% efficiency. To a human eye or even a high-tech sensor, a Glimmer warrior wasn't just hidden, they were a ghost. They looked like a slight ripple in the air, a heat haze on the horizon, or a smudge of light that disappeared the moment you blinked. For centuries they had been the ultimate assassins of the sector. They didn't build fortresses. They didn't need them. They lived in the open, invisible and untouchable. When they fought, they used blades of hard glass that were as transparent as the air itself. Their enemies would die clutching their throats, never knowing if they were being killed by a demon or the wind itself. When the human 7th Prospecting Legion landed to claim the rare sun shards found in the salt crust, the Glimmer High Exalt, Zareth, watched with cold, transparent eyes. The heavy-footed ones have arrived, Zareth signaled through light pulses. They bring their cameras. They bring their thermal sensors. They bring their smart scopes. They think the universe is something they can measure and see. Let us show them that the most dangerous things are the ones that cast no shadow. The first week was a bloodbath. The human Pathfinder squads, equipped with the latest multispectrum visors and motion trackers, were systematically dismantled. The Glimmer were too fast and their light bending was too perfect. Thermal imaging was useless because the planet's surface was already a baking 140 degrees. Motion sensors were confused by the constant shimmering of the salt flats. Human soldiers would be standing in a circle, weapons ready, only for the man in the center to be decapitated by a ripple in the air. The humans fired their lasers wildly, but you can't hit a target that bends the very beam you're firing. We can't fight what we can't see, the radio chatter screamed. They're everywhere and nowhere, requesting immediate extraction. But General Grime, Henderson didn't order an extraction. Henderson was a man who hated clean things. He was a veteran of the asteroid mines, a man who spent his life covered in coal dust, oil and iron filings. He looked at the reports of invisible ghosts, and didn't see a supernatural threat. He saw a surface that was just too damn clean. You're trying to out-tech a mirror, Henderson growled, biting into a protein bar that was mostly grit. You're trying to use sensors to find a ripple. Stop being smart. Start being dirty. He turned to his lead engineer. Is the coal cloud ready? Ready and pressurized, sir, the engineer replied. We've got 10 tons of industrial-grade magnetic iron dust, powdered graphite and ground charcoal per canister. Good, Henderson said, standing up. If they want to be ghosts, let's give them a soul. The Glimmer were preparing for their final strike. They had surrounded the human base, thousands of invisible warriors moving silently across the white salt. They were mere feet from the perimeter, their glass blades raised, ready to end the human presence on Lucent Prime. Now, Henderson whispered. From the perimeter of the human base, 50 industrial-grade aerosol cannons, usually used for suppressing fires in fuel depots, ignited simultaneously. They didn't fire bullets. They fired the grime. A massive, suffocating cloud of pitch-black dust erupted into the air. It wasn't just a smoke screen, it was a magnetic adhesive mist of iron and carbon. Within seconds, the blindingly white landscape of Lucent Prime was stained by a localized midnight black fog. High Exalt Zareth felt the dust hit his skin. It was oily. It was heavy. And most importantly, it was visible. The microscopic scales that bent light were suddenly coated in a layer of black charcoal and magnetic iron. The refraction stopped. The light couldn't bend because it couldn't reach the skin. Across the salt flats, the ghosts suddenly became solid. They appeared as jagged, terrifying, pitch-black silhouettes against the white ground. Thousands of them. They looked like holes ripped in the fabric of reality. ICM, a human gunner roared. Targets marked. All units, open fire on the black shapes. The humans didn't use lasers this time. Lasers are light and light can be tricked. They used the gospel of momentum. Heavy, belt-fed machine guns began to chatter. The bullets didn't care about light bending. They didn't care about refraction. They only cared about the mass that was now clearly outlined by the black dust. The Glimmer were in a state of pure, biological shock. For millions of years, their entire defense was the fact that nobody knew where they were. Now they were standing in the open, coated in the dirtiest substance in the galaxy, being hammered by lead slugs moving at 3 times the speed of sound. The black silhouettes began to fall. The hard glass blades shattered against the human steel. The Glimmer tried to run, but the magnetic dust stayed with them, clinging to their bodies like a cursed shadow. Everywhere they went, they left a trail of black soot on the white salt. Retreat. Zareth signaled, his own body now a shimmering dirty gray mess. Return to the crystalline peaks. The air is poisoned. But Henderson wasn't done. Switch to magnetic rounds. The human soldiers swapped their magazines. The new bullets were magnetized. They were literally drawn to the iron dust coating the Glimmer. The humans didn't even have to be perfect marksmen anymore. The bullets were being pulled toward the black shapes like iron to a magnet. It wasn't a battle, it was a cleaning operation. By the time the suns began to set, the Glimmer host was decimated. The survivors had fled deep into the mountains, but they were no longer the invisible masters. They were dirty, broken creatures who had to spend hours scrubbing the human grime from their scales just to hide again. Henderson walked out onto the salt flats, his heavy boots crunching on the crystal. He found a wounded Glimmer warrior, the creature's skin a mottled mess of black dust and translucent scales. The alien looked at him with a mixture of hatred and awe. It sent a weak light pulse. You use filth as a weapon. You have no honor. You have no elegance. Henderson looked at the creature, then at the massive blackened scar the coal cloud had left on the beautiful white landscape. He wiped a streak of grease from his cheek. Elegance doesn't win wars, son, Henderson said. And honor doesn't find a target in a blinding sun. You want it to be invisible? Fine. But in our world, if we can't see the light, we just look for the dirt. And we brought plenty of dirt. The conquest of Lucent Prime was completed in a month. The humans didn't need to hunt the Glimmer in the mountains. They simply installed grid emitters every mile, keeping a constant thin layer of dust in the air. The Glimmer remained visible, their magic neutralized by the simple reality of industrial pollution. Humanity had proven the ultimate physical HFY truth. You can be a ghost of the light. You can be a miracle of biology. You can be the most perfect hunter in the stars. But if you stand in the way of a species that spent its entire history in the mud, we will find a way to make you dirty. And once you're dirty, you're just another target. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. You can't hide from the grime. If you enjoyed this visible victory over the invisible aliens, hit that like button. Comment below. Would you rather be perfectly invisible or perfectly invincible? Subscribe for the next conquest of Saga 12, the Salted Earth. The dust is down. The targets are clear.